All right, with me is Aparna Varma, who is the recipient of the Excellence in Education Lifetime Achievement Award, and she's the CEO of Scholars International Group. Aparna, how are you?
I am very well. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
It's lovely having you. We've had such a pleasant conversation before we started rolling, and I was just thinking like, man, we should have had the cameras on because we were having such an amazing conversation. It's always one that is relevant to everyone. I think even if you're not a parent, I mean, I know you're in the education sector, but even if you're not a parent, there is a child in your life that you care about or that you know that parents are struggling with. But before we get into that, I just wanted to know, like, how did you feel when you got the award? I mean, what did that mean to you? I mean, you told me such a heartfelt story about when you received it and what happened after. But I mean, tell me your initial feeling of knowing that you're the recipient of that award and when you won and then what you did after.
Well, it was, when I found out that I won, like I said, for us, for me in education, it's not about winning an award. I just felt I've done something right. Mm-hmm. All the lives we've impacted over the last 50 years has come to fruition in a way.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more about the impact that we've had on all the lives and all these kids who are making an impact in the world, and they are all over the world, they're everywhere. And I said, okay, we have done something right. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was also about the legacy of my parents. And I think that actually hit me. And I was like, Mom and Dad, this is for you. I continued your legacy and continuing the schools, and this just shows where we've reached.
Yeah.
So that was what it wasn't about me.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. It's funny because we were talking about this before we started rolling, and you were saying we reach a certain age in our life where we just want to move away from our parents, and the teenage phase of your life where you're like, I'm too cool for my parents now, and I don't want to think about my parents. And you were saying it's quite the opposite, and you start to realize it, I think, as you get older, that your parents are like your core
They're your
support.
core, and they make you who you are. Like if you look at it, your parents are the ones who give you your values, your morals. Everything comes from your parents. Even the fact that they test you, they don't judge you. Mm-hmm. They allow you to take risks. They allow you to make mistakes, and it's okay, right? You never feel like a failure in front of your parents, right? No matter how badly you've done.
Yeah.
Like my dad would say, I knew you could do better, but let's work on it for the next time.
Yeah.
So I would never feel like I'm a failure, even if I failed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
so
you.
I think things like that is where you only realize later in life how important your parents are, because without them, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned failure, because I think that was one of the more difficult things I had to cope with growing up. I'm sort of like a perfectionist, and I was very adamant to always do my best.
Yeah.
And I remember my father always told me, if you don't make the mistake, you'll never learn
from the mistake.
Exactly. And you'll never learn something new. So if you make the mistake, okay, you made the mistake, it's not the end of the world, but you'll actually come out with so many other outcomes that will benefit you more than not making the mistake.
Exactly.
So it is something that a lot of kids also need to learn today.
And it's so important also to learn from the mistake, Mary, because when you learn from the mistake, it's like, okay, I've learned from this mistake. It's not about not repeating it again, but you're like, okay, what do I need to do the next time?
Exactly.
If you don't make a mistake, or someone tells you that it's not a mistake and it actually is a mistake, you'll be repeating that mistake over and over again.
Yes.
Especially when your parents don't want to tell you it's a mistake, they will say, oh honey, it's okay. But it's not okay, right? So it's so much better to catch it up front and say, no honey, it's not okay, and this is why, and this is what we need to do to change it.
Absolutely.
But by saying it is okay, the child will keep on making that mistake over and over again, and that mistake just gets bigger and bigger, and then it reaches a stage where there's no coming back from it.
Yes.
But if you nip it in the bud and you say, that was a mistake, but it's okay, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together.
Exactly.
How do we make it right?
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to talk about your proudest moment in your career, or, in your lifetime journey in the education sector.
The one moment that I'm very proud of is when I actually built Dubai Scholars.
Okay.
And even today, 30 years later, I still stand, like let's say on the steps, and I'm looking out on the football field, and I still stand today with full humility, and I go, oh my God, we did it. And that was a journey in itself where I remember calling up, we had a school in a nursery, we had a nursery and it was in one building, then we grew to 2, then we grew to 4, then we grew to 8. And then I went and did my undergrad degree, and I came back and I said, okay, now what do I do? And while I was in university, I realized that I couldn't hold it at 8 villas, because in those days we were allowed villas.
Yeah.
Because the kids didn't have a football ground, they didn't have a swimming pool, they didn't have a lot of facilities. But we had a great education. So I said, okay, I have to build a school. And I remember knocking on so many doors and every door being slammed, saying I was young. I was like 23, 24. I was a woman. And so I probably don't have it or what it takes to actually build a school. And after knocking on so many doors, one local actually, who's still my landlord today, he had faith in me. And without even signing the contract, I'd got the drawings done, I did everything, like I was on a roll. Like as soon as I graduated, I came back and I was just rolling, like I wouldn't stop because I knew that I didn't have enough time. And I remember I called up my brothers and I said, whatever money we have in the world, I am going to build a school. And they were young, so they didn't argue. Thank God. Thank God. Because if they did argue, or if they did question me, I would have questioned myself.
Okay.
But they didn't. They were
I think
too
they
young.
looked up to you
They
as well.
they looked up to me, so they said, okay, she knows best. And so they said, what does that mean? And I said, well, if we're using all the money we have and I'm using it to build a school. Okay, what does that mean? And I said, well, if it doesn't work, you guys will have to fend for yourselves and figure it out.
Okay.
But it will work. And I will make sure it works because I'm going to give it everything I have to make it work. And that's how I built Dubai Scholars. And I remember when I built it, took everything and I built it and moved all the kids into this new building with a football field, which was still sand at the time.
Yeah.
The pool came maybe 2 or 3 years later. But when you're talking about 1993, that was a huge achievement then. Today, it's people are just building schools, but then it was huge. And for me, it was really, really big. And like I said, even today, I will stand at the school and I'll look out and I'll see all these kids and I'll look at all my alumni and I'll say, we've done something right. We've done something good. We have done something that has made a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a feeling.
Oh my God. And if I had to do it again, because I was never going to go into education, I was going to be an architect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to be an architect.
Well, in a way, you kind of did both.
In a way, I did both.
You built a school.
I built a school and I'm still involved in, the building and designing of all my schools. I'm still very involved in that aspect.
Yeah.
And if someone told me, Aparna, what would you do? I would do it again.
Nice.
I would actually do it again because the amount of satisfaction I get every single day, you just can't beat it. Like nothing I think in the world can beat it, can beat when you look at your students and what they're doing in school and as alumni and what they're doing outside in the world.
Yeah.
To me, it's unbeatable.
Yeah, of course.
Unbeatable.
It's seeing all your hard work turn into an achievement.
Yeah.
Like live in life form.
Exactly. And it's not only my work, it's the entire team, right? It's the whole school, every teacher, the relationships they have with the students.
So you mentioned that your brothers, obviously they look up to you, and we did speak a little bit about it as well off camera. So apart from their support and obviously your parents' support, was there like a quote or a mentor or someone that actually gave you that extra push to pursue what you wanted to pursue? Like, was there something that really, that you could say was your main motive?
So I took over the school when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
And the reason I kept the school going and it became like my mission was I wanted to keep the name of my parents alive.
Okay.
And till today, that is the case. So if anyone has empowered me on my journey to reach where I am today, it's my parents, for sure. I would say they have been my mentors, my guides from another world, but they have been with me throughout because the values and everything that I learned from them till the age of 17, everything, like, I was always, like, we had, like, even in those days when I was young, my parents would, like I said, allow me to take risks, allow me to make mistakes, allow me to, learn different things. So everything that I learned till I was 17, I was so grateful for, because that's what in a way kept me going.
Yeah.
And then having my brothers was another mission to have, just to be rooted was so important, right? So everything around me was just to literally build roots and to just build on the legacy of my parents.
Yeah.
So
that's lovely.
that was, if I had any mentors, even though it was only till the age of 17, and after that I do think I was just on my own. I had a lovely principal, Mrs. Miranda, who just retired a few years ago. So she was with me for over, I don't know, maybe 40 years. So she was with my mom and then she was with me. And I remember when I took over the school at the age of 17, I told her, I said, Mrs. Miranda, I said, you need to help me.
Yeah.
I said, I can't do this on my own. I said, you become the principal and the two of us will work together. And she goes, I will not become the principal unless I can teach. I will not give up teaching. Okay. Until the last day, she didn't give up teaching.
Wow.
So I said, okay, deal. When you're teaching, I'll manage. When I'm managing, and then when I'm, because even she made me a teacher, and I said, when I'm teaching, you manage.
Okay.
So it was one of those, so we made it, it was a deal where we were both running the school, but we were both teaching, because she said, if you want to be a good principal, you have to teach. So I started with kindergarten.
Nice.
Loved it. Parents still think that I was the best kindergarten teacher, which is awesome. But I'm just saying that these were the values that I even learned then, of how to give back, how to be better in doing your job by actually learning it yourself.
Yeah, I feel like kids just don't want to read anymore. And like, this is a value that I want to like instill in my children, my future children, is that no, like read, enhance your imagination. And it goes beyond that. Like, it's not just the value of reading or doing something that's hands-on. I feel like we lack a lot of the values, or kids lack a lot of the values that we once had. As an educator, what do you think is the solution, and what do you think the cause of it is?
I love you already. Where I do feel that there is a lack, and I feel that it depends on us as parents to make the right moves. And I feel that today our parents are basically, I'm not saying they're taking it easy, but I do feel that they're not giving, it's not enough time, it's giving the right time to their children. Right. Like, you rather give 1 hour and not 10, but that 1 hour is totally focused on their child, rather than giving 10 hours where you're sitting with your child, the child is on an iPad or he's watching TV, you're on your phone, you're talking to a friend, but you're there. But you're only there. You're not connecting with your child.
Right.
And I just think that it is so important today for parents to be connected to their children, because they have a lot of peer pressure at school. And the only people that can ground them are the parents.
Yeah.
The parents can bring them down to earth, ground them, give them the values and the morals that we're all craving, because that's sort of filtering out rather than filtering in. And I would hold the parents responsible and accountable for it, because you can't blame children today. Children today are going to do what they're allowed to do, what they're able to do. and what they can do. So when you look at all of these things, allowed, able, can, who is allowing them, who is enabling them, and why can they do it? Absolutely. It's the parents. If the parents say, honey, this is what you can and cannot do, this is the limit you're allowed to, you're not going to go on the iPad, but instead you're going to read a book, or you know what, we'll read a book together. That is what I feel is really needed today, because it's disappearing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Absolutely, because everything is so easy.
I do believe that children intrinsically are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human beings.
Yes.
They just have to be guided in the right way to have the values, to have the morals, to give back, to be accepting of others. And that comes from the parents.